Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office show. We are streaming live on this one because, Keith, I have a feeling there are a few people from our respective fan bases that still need to vent a little bit after a rough night in the NBA last night.
I assume you mean the Grizzlies and Magic, as we're both wearing varying shades of
Oh,
blue,
that's
and those are
true.
the teams we now we are closest to, and now should support rather than the two dumpster fires that we are most commonly linked
Oh,
with.
man.
So it's yeah, not good times on the respective coasts for the longtime rivals for the Celtics and Lakers, but plenty of time to get into them as we go along here, and we'll you know we'll talk it, I'm
That's
sure.
right. So if you're coming in from YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitter, welcome in. Chat. Let us know if you've got any questions along the way. But we're going to bounce around the different games that are going on. We'll touch upon a few news.
Oh, you got someone checking in from
Oh,
China.
wow.
Love it.
All right.
Good
Good
stuff.
morning. Well, I guess it's not morning there, but welcome, welcome in. So let's get into this. We'll bounce around a few different games and things like that, and I guess we'll start out in Orlando. The Magic and the Hornets. Keith, I said this before we hit go live here. My guy Miles Bridges keeps going, 31.6 boards. Get that money, Miles.
Yeah, he reportedly turned down around 60 million, it sounds like, in a contract extension, which good on him because he's probably going to make significantly more than that if he just continues down the path he is on here. He's been great. Really good to start the season. Really starting to show some rounding out of his
Mm-hmm.
game. He's not just a dunker anymore. He can really hit some jump shots now. He's starting to really do some things off the dribble. Didn't show it in this game, but his passing has been much improved. So yeah, all around a good effort from the Hornets on a night where LaMelo Ball really kind
Yeah.
of struggled. The Magic guards made a focus to try to kind of put him in clamps and keep him there, and they really had him locked up. And then Kelly Oubre, not a good night, but Gordon Hayward had one of those kind of Gordon Hayward games, 24, 5, and 5, with 2 steals and a block. But off the bench, two of their younger forwards, guys that they drafted a couple years ago, really starting to come into their own. Cody Martin had 12 points, and Jalen McDaniel had 16 points, including 4 or 5 from three from him. So that's really good to
Mm-hmm.
see from the Hornets that their bench is starting to step forward, because right now they're still playing without Terry Rozier and PJ
I
Washington.
mean, look, that's the mark of a good team, that they can withstand losses like that. You didn't even get a LaMelo Ball-esque performance out of him. He even only played 24 minutes, and they still
Yep.
picked up the win. Oh, and now, of course, it's against the Magic, but as we saw from a number of other games last night, a win is not
Yeah.
guaranteed, even if you're playing a bad team. So, impressive stuff there. And then from the Magic side, I mean, look, Cole Anthony was good again, 24, 5, and 6. You had a number of guys that were chipping in. Wendell Carter, who just got that big new contract, 20 and 10. Didn't block any shots, which is surprising for a guy with timing that is so good. But 2 of 5 from deep as well. Mo Bamba, 10 boards, 14 points. He hit 50% from 3. So, look, this Magic team is competing, but they're just not winning, which is probably okay for them.
Yeah, that's what we can expect now at this point. Is that they're going to compete, they're going to play really hard, and they're probably going to lose a lot. But it's mostly what is to be expected. I think the most encouraging thing out of this game from the Magic side, Franz Wagner, 15 points on 5 of 7, did a lot of stuff off the dribble, not just spot up stuff. He For how bad he looked in summer
Mm-hmm.
league, he has really turned it around to start this season and actually looks pretty
Wait,
positive.
wait,
So.
wait, wait, wait. Are you trying to tell me that Summer League is not a predictor of future NBA success or failure? Come on,
I
Keith.
I mean, I'm not trying to tell you that, but yeah, it's yeah, summer league is great and we love it, but yeah, it's we let's not take what it teaches us as the gospel, I
Yes.
guess, is where I'm trying to go.
Yes. All right. Let's jump over to I'm sorry, let's jump over to your team.
No, let's not.
I know,
Let's
I know.
skip
I
it.
already said we usually these shows run long because we spend so much time talking about our teams, and we've already said today there's not going to be a lot to talk about. The Celtics fall to the Wizards, 116 to 107. My guy Kyle Kuzma, not a great shooting night, 8 boards, 12 points. 2 steals, 1 block, still contributed there. KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 3 of 4 from deep with 11 points. Injury to Daniel Gafford. Sounds like it's a contusion, fortunately, and not something more serious, but he only played 7 minutes.
It looked really scary live. Him and Jaylen Brown went for a loose ball in transition and went knee to knee. Brown got up, limped around for a minute, and then stayed in. Gafford stayed down, was grabbing at the back of his knee,
the scary part.
Which was weird considering they're saying it's a thigh contusion. So, hopefully he's going to be okay because he's in the midst of a, last year was really his breakout after he was traded, but he's continued that into this season. I don't know if we could call him your guy. He was only there for a season, and it was a weird season, but Montrezl Harrell,
stepped up.
Yeah, absolute monster. He was just ragdolling guys around in the paint all night long, getting whatever he wanted. 10 of 13 from the floor for 25 points. Just an absolute monster inside. Had to play extended minutes because Gafford was hurt, and the interesting thing was the only time Boston got real traction after Gafford got hurt was when Harrell came off the floor because they went with Davis Bertans at the 5, and we only needed to see the few minutes of it to know that's not a thing that will work.
Gonna happen.
It was pretty bad. So, on the Celtics side, if you want to read my extended thoughts on this, you could go over to Celtics blog. It's up right now. Normally after the games, I do a thing called 10 takeaways where I hit quick hit observations and I post clips and things like that. Today was just one takeaway, and I'm sick and tired of hearing the players say after games, our effort's not good. It has to be better. We'll fix it. We're on year 2 of this now. It's the main guys who continue to say it, Tatum, Brown, and Smart. And they continue to not do anything about it. This was probably the most I've gone in on the team in several years of covering them, and we're to a point where now it needed to be said and done. The bright spots in this game: Jabari Parker played hard, continues to produce off the bench some. Dennis Schroeder actually came in, changed the energy of the game off the bench, played pretty well. And now Horford looked really good throughout the course of the night, despite having his minutes managed. But the main guys, Tatum, Brown, and Smart, they all stunk. They all didn't play hard, and it's a mess. And this team's not going to get better until they fix it.
Yeah, Jason Tatum, 9 for 22. Marcus Smart, 1 for 7. Jaylen Brown, 5 for 16. That you could withstand one or two of those, but all 3 of those shooting that way, you can't do that.
No, yeah. And it's not, I don't even know. It's Smart. I do care about the shooting now because he's shooting 25% for the year. And that's just, I don't care how good you are at all the other stuff. You can't play a player that shoots that poorly. Mike Wolf in the chat asked, what happened at shoot around with the Celtics? I don't know the answer to that, but whatever it was not good. Ime Udoka referenced it first, that he said shoot around went so poorly that he told the team, you're going to get your asses kicked tonight if you play like this. And then they came in and they played like that. And for 3 quarters, they got their asses kicked. Then Dennis Schroeder and Al Horford both said, we weren't serious earlier in the day, and just from there. So this is going to be one of those, like Andrew Bynum's practice where he shot from all over the court. We're just going to want to know forever maybe what happened at this shoot around. So yeah, that definitely was a mess. With that. Hey, I got a shout out real quick just because it'll help pick me up, and I'll be a little bit more.
I know where you're going.
My guy Pete Toll is in the chat. Pete was my former co-host on Front Office Show when we first launched here, many, many moons ago, many versions of the show ago. So I love Pete. Pete, thank you so much for showing up in the chat, man. Love
great analysis on Twitter. You guys should make sure you follow him there as well.
Absolutely.
Look, this is from the coaching perspective. I've been in a number of situations like that where you go to your warm-ups, you go to your shoot around, whatever it is, and you just go, oh no. And you lay into your team and you say you're not focused, you're not prepared for this. And sometimes you can snap them out of it, and sometimes you can't, and you just give them a big "I told you so" after the game. There's a mental letdown when you're playing a bad team, where sometimes you are not focused the way that you should be. And we've all been in that situation where it comes back to burn you. And a number of teams were in that situation last night.
Yep. And normally, if this was mid-March, I'd be like,
Yes,
whatever, you
exactly.
shrug, you move on, because every team has games like this. But this is now year 2 of this for the Celtics, where we're spending more time after games talking about their effort level than anything else. Let's move on to a team that we don't have to worry about playing with good effort.
Okay,
The Miami
Miami Heat,
Heat.
106 to 93.
They're going to bring it every
Yeah.
night. Yeah, upset. On the road against Brooklyn, not a massive upset, right? They're not like a super far off team from where Brooklyn is, but I think the Heat culture stuff is a little bit more propaganda than it is real. But clearly, they come in ready to play. Jimmy Butler, a really good all around game. Did not shoot
No.
it well, but 17 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals. He was also took a lot of turns guarding both Kevin Durant and James Harden, and helped hold them in relative check. Bam did his thing. Tyler Hero had a rough shooting night, really kind of one of his first rough shooting nights of the year off the bench, but they got enough. And I thought nothing in the box score. Well, I guess the 9 assists would show up for Kyle Lowry. But if you watch this game, you can see Kyle Lowry's influence on the Heat as far as getting the ball right up the floor, stealing early offense when they can. He's really developed pretty good chemistry with Bam already, where it's, hey, run the floor, we'll get the hit-ahead pass, and then we'll get it to you. That's getting them some easy buckets. And that's good for this team, because this is not a team whose offense is going to be, probably great every single night. So it's gonna take them a little bit to get there with that.
And then jumping over to the Nets, 25 points, 11 boards for Kevin Durant, 2 blocks, 5 turnovers, 9 for 18. He did his thing, but nobody else did. That's really what it came down to. You had Joe Harris shot 5 for 15, James Harden 4 for 12. We need to talk about him a little bit. 7 boards, 7 assists for him for 14 points. But I mean, really, this was the Nets not having enough depth in this situation. It was kind of KD.
And they shot.
Yeah, and they shot terribly. But I mean, part of that is the lack of, you had Kevin Durant shot well, nobody else really did. So that's a problem when you're a Nets team that relies on offense.
I think Steve Nash, too, at one point, I think he realized, we're not getting this one, because he rolled out a lineup without Durant, Harden, or Patty Mills on the floor. And those are the only 3 guys this team has that can create offense off the dribble. I think that lineup was something like Carter, Brown, Bembry, Millsap, and Joe Harris, if I remember correctly. And that's not... you're not going to find offense out of that grouping. That's too many guys who are standstill shooters and dependent players. So, let's talk about James Harden for a minute. Said after the game that he's still kind of finding his form. Talked about how he didn't get to play at all this summer because he spent the entire summer rehabbing from. He had 3 separate grade 2 hamstring strains, which that's
really bad.
That's rough. So he spent the entire summer rehabbing from that. He is very clearly still finding his way with the new points of emphasis on the flops. He had about 4 or 5 different plays in this game where he went foul hunting and didn't get the calls. Now, to his credit, there was not a lot of complaining about it, not a lot of whining. It was just kind of, all right, we're not going to get it. It's going to take him time to adjust when you're that dependent on that. But he's only averaging 3 free throw attempts per game. That's the lowest free throw attempt rate of his entire career. And if he can't get back to that, you start to say, not that he's a bad player by any means, but he's not James Harden superstar level guy if he can't find a way to get himself to the free throw line.
So fans of 29 other teams right now are saying hallelujah. We were tired of watching the James Harden
Except
free throw.
maybe the Hawks fans.
Okay, yes, aside from the Hawks fans with the Trae Young fouls. But when you look at what's going on with James Harden, what's happening is you've got, number one, physically, he's not quite there. But then the issue is compounded by the new rules, right? Because typically, if this was, say, last season and physically he wasn't quite there, he can cheap foul his way into points and into production by getting to the free throw line when he's physically unable to just create points on his own. I think when he's 100%, he's more than talented enough to continue to be a very, very good, very impactful player, a star-level player, even without the fouls. When he's physically compromised, though, he relies on the fouls that much more to be a big part of his game because he's not able to have that burst to blow by guys. He's not able to do some of the things that he would normally do. So it really kind of snowballs when you add those two things together, and then you get a James Harden who's not quite superstar level, and then you see a Nets team which is more similar to what we saw in the playoffs once James Harden got hurt, Where once there are Durant and then more of maybe a low-level all-star version of James Harden and then everybody else, they are much more vulnerable than when they have at least two true superstars and everybody can just play off that.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Um, yeah, it's tough for them right now. I mean, no, again, like you said, nobody feels bad for Harden for the way they're being officiated now,
Mm-hmm.
and clearly no one feels bad for the Nets. But they went big this offseason versus wings and guards. They went with a lot of bigs, and
Yep.
you're not really playing them. So that starts to become something where I wonder if that roster construction gets tweaked. All right, let's move on to Pacers
Let's do it.
Raptors. Uh, if you don't bring it against Toronto, you're going to get
Yep.
beat. That's just the reality of it. They're a team another much like Miami. You don't have to worry about them coming out and playing with really good effort. Another strong game by Scotty Barnes, man, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Good all
Yep.
around. OG 25 points, 5 steals. Fred VanVleet had 26 points. They're just getting good, solid play out of their guys. I think this is one where it'll start to level off a little bit as the season goes
Mm-hmm.
along because it can be hard to sustain that level of effort for 82 games, and then teams will start to figure them out a little bit. But for now, they're out there stealing victory. 16 offensive boards too. It wasn't just one guy doing it; it's a whole bunch of different people, including Fred VanVleet with 4, which I didn't see enough of it to know how that happened, but. Bad on you, Pacers, for letting that happen. Nothing really remarkable from the
No.
Pacers side, other than Malcolm Brogdon got hurt. They're just about to get Karis LeVert back. He did not play in this one, but sounds like he's really close. And then Brogdon got hurt and left the game. So just injuries in Indiana, man, just continue to swamp them.
And we'll have to wait and see what happens exactly with Brogdon and that injury and how long he's out and that type of thing. But when we're looking at the Pacers, I saw quite a bit of the reaction. This was while the Lakers game was on, so I was on that. But it was a hamstring issue for Brogdon, so those can be very tricky.
Mm-hmm.
But from the reaction of Pacers fans, I saw a lot of fans who were saying this is another season where they're just searching for players who can bring it on a nightly basis, who can really put forth
Yeah.
that effort. Rick Carlisle, as a coach, he's very demanding, and so I would be surprised if he didn't get the most out of this team. But tonight was a night that they did not bring it.
Yeah, I I still am surprised that we're still running Turner and Sabonis together. It just I think we're past the point where we know that's not going to
Yes.
work as a
Yeah.
pairing. And maybe this year at the trade deadline they split it. I thought it would be this off season, as I know I was said that was one of the things I thought was most likely to
Mm-hmm.
happen, and then it did not. So which I get it. Carlisle, asked, he wanted to see if he could make it work. And this game obviously didn't have crunch time down the stretch, but Miles Turner hasn't been a part of the closing lineups for the Pacers, which is also, that's a little bit of a problem there. You want to move on to Hawks
Let's do
Pelicans?
it. And Keith, before we even get into it, all right, the Hawks won by 3, 102-99. I just want to highlight how fantastic this is. Last night, James Harden and Trae Young both played. Combined, they took 6 free throws. Combined. Thank you,
Yep.
NBA.
3 for
Thank
3
you.
on them. They made
Yes.
them all. That's good. Yeah. And to his credit, I think Trae Young's starting to
Yes.
adjust.
And they're talented
bit.
enough to do
I
it. They
think-
don't have to get the free throws, and that makes the game so much
agreed.
more
Yep.
enjoyable.
I agree. 31 points for Trae, 7 assists. John Collins had a nice game. This is one of those ones where I look at it. This tells me the Hawks are. And I don't want to make it that I didn't believe in them before, but they're for a real good team because they just went in and won a game that they should have won. They didn't blow them out over the Pelicans, but they just went in and took control of the game, did what they had to do, and get out of there with a win. Danilo Gallinari, I believe this was his season debut, 9.7 rebounds off the bench. The bench was really the difference. No super standouts for Atlanta, but just more production than at times a kind of rough go of it on the bench from the Pelicans side there. So yeah, I just think Atlanta's good. There's not a lot more analysis there other than that they're a good
Yep.
team. On the Pelican side, it's just I don't know. It's just
no
hard for them
Zion.
to get the offense
Yep.
going. Yeah, I would at this point now. All right, if Zion's not going to be there for a while, let's play through Valanciunas a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more in the post. He's been doing some stuff. He looks pretty good down there. So I know that's kind of more old school, but if that's what we got to do, that's what you got to do, because Ingram's doing his best. Devontae Graham's kind of doing his best, but there's just not a lot of other offense creation. I will say though, Herb Jones, I think he's for real as at least a defender
Yeah.
in this league. He can really get after it.
All right.
Minnesota, Milwaukee. Oh, go
Oh
ahead.
no, I was going to say let's move on to Minnesota and Milwaukee, because I didn't have a whole lot else to add about that game. I think we kind of summed it up, but this is another one.
One of the upsets of the night.
Upset. Yeah.
Yeah. The Timberwolves. I love Anthony Edwards, man. Did you hear him after where he came in and he's like, well, we're like, man, all these other teams are stealing games. Why can't we go steal one? And I'm cleaning up his language because, boy, that guy has a foul mouth, which is part of why I love him. But I don't want to get us in trouble here on our show here. But yeah, he is. He's fun, man. He went a little crazy though, because he started talking about how they've got a bunch of defenders and they're gonna have 3 all defense guys, and it's like, where are we coming from with this? That part was a little bit much out of him, but love the confidence, man. Get after it. They went big in their opening group.
Mm-hmm.
They went with Towns, Vanderbilt, and McDaniels up front.
Build a wall.
Really seemed to kind of help out Towns, because I think Vanderbilt and McDaniels focused on defense in the glass, and that really freed up Towns to do a lot of stuff offensively there, which he's always very good. But if you could get your defense and rim protection and other stuff from other spots, you can really get more out of him on the offensive end. D'Angelo Russell didn't shoot it great, and neither did Edwards.
It wasn't bad.
They came 3 for 11.
Right, but 12 to 25 overall.
They were combined 5 for 21. That's not very good, but scored a bunch of points. Did their stuff. Patrick Beverly. Did you see the Patrick Beverly try to do the like dribble in front of and
fall down?
Pick up the foul?
Oh,
yeah. So
I need a compilation of all of these. I need somebody to edit them all together.
Wob. Yeah. So I can't think of his Rob Perez. I think it is, right? Worldwide Wob on Twitter. He has the clip of it, so you can go find it. Beverly, he either got a ball outletted to him, or he got a rebound or a steal or something, and he dribbled directly in the path of the Bucks player. May have been Giannis. The guy tripped over him and fell. The ref called Beverly for the foul. No complaint. Got up with a little smirk on his face, like, all right, you caught me. And just went and started laughing and went right back to playing. So, again, good to see that it's working. Yep. Giannis, dominant night, 40 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists. The Bucks are just they're just injured.
Yeah.
Bobby Portis did come back and play. It was really cool when he got into the game for the first time too. The crowd went so bananas for him. They loved him.
They really do.
Him. It was almost like a WWE kind of pop as he entered, which is fun. But no Brook Lopez, no Drew Holiday, no Don DiVincenzo. Still, Lopez starting to get a little nervous. He's been out for a while. With the back.
Yeah, that's going to be a concern, especially for a big man. And Porzingis is dealing with the back injury as well. So big men and back injuries, bad news.
Yep. All right, you did it to me. I got to do it back to you. Let's get there. Thunder Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, look, I spent over an hour talking about this on the post-game show last night, but it really over on Lakers Nation. But it really just comes down to two things, and we see this every year. We see teams who get up big and then take their foot off the gas, and this happens. We see it across all sports, and you can't do it, and teams still continue to do that because it's kind of human nature. When you get up that big, it's hard to have that kind of sharpness throughout the entire game, and that's exactly what the Lakers did. And the other piece to this, which we've talked about this before, is you can't give a bad team hope. That's the worst thing you can do if you're playing a bad team, is you give them hope, because what's going to happen is they're going to play every possession like their life depends on it, because they're going to go, oh my gosh, this is our chance. This is our one chance. It might be a month before we get this chance again. And that's exactly what happened in OKC against the Thunder. There's not a whole lot else to break down other than the Lakers just completely took their foot off the gas. And it burned them, and they should know better. They're a team full of veterans. They should know that this can happen, and they did not heed that warning, and now they are yet another cautionary tale.
On the Thunder side, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander at points as they took over that game just was unguardable. The Lakers didn't have anybody who could keep him in front of them. Josh Giddey, we said this is what it's going to be like with him, where he's going to shoot it well some
Yeah.
nights, and when he does, he's going to look great. And on the nights he doesn't, we'll see what comes after that. But yeah, 18 points and 10 assists for him. Lou Dort did his thing, and we'll come back to Darius Bazley in a minute because we do have to obviously talk about that. And on the Lakers side, I mean, they kind of were what they're going to be without LeBron, I guess. A lot of AD, a lot of Russ,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody else kind of chipped in. But it's what you said. They took their foot off the gas at the end. So let's talk about what happened at the end of the game
Yeah.
just for a second, because I think it would be disingenuous if we didn't. So I'm just going to say it. Go cry me a river somewhere else, Russell Westbrook.
Oh, yeah.
Don't throw the ball all over the gym. Don't blow a 26-point lead and have a 30-plus point turnaround. And you know what? If a young guy on a team that's not going to have very many good moments this year wants to steal a ball and punctuate a big win for them, maybe the best win they'll have all season with a dunk, just let him. Why do you care? You don't need to go after him. You're not going to teach him any kind of
No.
lesson. And the other thing is, too, I don't want to hear about it from him either when he used to do the same thing when he was a young player. He was regularly known for being the guy who would push the ball he'd get a rebound on that last 10 seconds, push it all the way down the court for a basket in a game that was already over. So just go away. You want to hear your old school nonsense. Stop crying. You know what? Bat flips are awesome. You let up a 500-foot home run, too bad. Flip the bat. And you know what? As the hitter too, you know the next pitch might be coming in your ribs. And that's all about it. You know what? You're going to play this team again a couple more times, at least this year. Go teach them a lesson then. You don't need to go after the kid at the end of the game. Just nonsense.
No, it's like Charles Barkley calling out player movement and how terrible it is that players are asking out now. He did the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. So, I mean, that was a topic of discussion. It was a pretty short discussion, for almost across the board. I didn't see any Lakers fans that had any problem with it. I mean, there were a couple that said, okay, that's kind of against the unwritten rules of the game or whatever. And that's true. But from a Lakers perspective, I love it. Please do that. Make it hurt so the Lakers never do that again. Because that was not about what the Thunder did last night. That was about what the Lakers did to themselves. And Darius Bazley doing that, perfect. Make that hurt so they never do that again. The other thing is, look, it would be different if it was a veteran. Let's say it was Patrick Beverley who did that.
Yeah.
That's a different story where you've got a guy where he's doing that not because he's excited, not because they just won their first game. It's because he's trying to do it to get under your skin, to send a message, to try to do something negative towards you. Darius Bazley is a 21-year-old kid who is just excited that they won a game, and he's fired up and it was their first win of the season. Like, I'm not going to fault him for that. It's a little different if it's a veteran who you've got issues with, the Russ Beverly thing, all that. Right? That would be a different story. But because of who it was, where it was, what's going on, I understand Russ being upset, being frustrated. He goes back to OKC. They do this terrible thing, and they give away this game that they never should have. But that's on you, right? That frustration's on you. It's not on Bazley. So I have no problem with what he did.
And I'll also say too, because you're right. And if it was a really good team, you didn't need to do that. But this is a team, again, that might be their best win of the year. So let's let them have their fun. Let's let them get out there with this. We've got somebody in the chat asking about Melo at the end. Can't have him in the closing lineups. He's not going to be in the closing lineups probably most nights because LeBron James will be in there. This is just they're the Lakers are going through right now with injuries, as we've talked about. They just gotta get through this period of time, get some guys back and go. All right. So you've already talked about this game enough. Let's move on to Kings Suns.
Kings Suns. This one was another upset.
Game of the night.
I mean, Harrison Barnes, 22 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, 10 for 18 shooting, and the game-winning 3 on a turnaround. I mean, not an easy shot, and he buried it. But again, this is a game the Suns should have won. Well, let me finish up on the stats here. De'Aaron Fox, 18 points, 9 assists. You had 12 from Rashawn Holmes, 12 and 12.
Shot poorly again.
De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron
Yeah,
Fox
1 for
did.
5 from deep.
Yeah, it was only 3 for 7 on free throws too. It's starting to get a little bit worried about his jumper.
He's too strong now.
What happened?
He put on too much muscle.
What's
He's
that?
too strong. He put on too much muscle now.
Maybe that's what it is. He's a little too jacked.
Yeah.
I'll have to check and see. Is he hitting a lot of glass and backboard?
He must be. Yeah, he's breaking backboards now at this point.
It's tough when you get big. You can't get the shoulders.
That's what it is.
Right, to shoot.
Tyrese Halliburton, 15 points, 6 of 11 shooting. Buddy Buckets, Buddy Hield, 26 points, 5 boards, 7 of 11 from 3. That's ridiculous. And then jumping over to the Suns, Devin Booker, 31, 6 and 8. DeAndre Ayton, 21 and 21. Good Lord, DeAndre Ayton says, pay me. Get that done. Chris Paul, though, just 1 for 10. 8 assists. Can't imagine he was a very pleasant person in the locker room after that. Mikal Bridges, 15 and 5. And then Jay Crowder, 10 points on 4 of 12 shooting. Jay Crowder said after the game that the Suns got too used to postseason play. That was the problem, that they were too used to the slow it down version of the postseason, and they need to readjust to regular season and push the pace a little bit more.
I guess maybe, but Chris Paul is your point.
Yeah.
You're not going to push the pace all that much. I said yesterday when we recorded that I just wanted to get some Davion Mitchell against Chris Paul moments. We got a couple, nothing, real fireworks, but I love just the way that kid comes out and competes and just gets after everybody. Devin Booker was awesome as the Suns came back to make this a game, because it was they were down and came back. The Kings looked like they were gonna Kings all over it, Kangs and blow it. And, but good win for Sacramento. They're feisty, man. And if them and the Wolves are for real, the West is just that much tougher because those teams are going to be in there battling out. 2 other teams. So your new team, as we proclaim them, the Memphis Grizzlies, unfortunately suffered a loss on the road at the Portland Trailblazers.
Blazers bounce back.
This one screamed to me. Yeah, Portland needed this win. They really needed this one. Memphis is on kind of a tough road trip early in the season right now, so they're figuring this out. But this was one where I felt like Portland really buckled in, said we've got to get this win. They actually played really good defense, which is a complete rarity for them. They usually don't play any at all. And they did a good job of harassing John Morant and really kind of forcing the ball out of his hands. Jaren Jackson Jr. couldn't get anything to fall. He was pretty miserable all night. Desmond Bane, big game for the Grizzlies. He's played great this year. I think felt like, what was it, 10 years in a row they were looking for a wing shooter in Memphis. It feels like maybe they finally got their guy, Desmond Bane. And then on the Portland side, just a couple more good stats because they're out there. Anthony Simons, 5 for 7 from 3, 17 points. Cody Zeller had 10 points, 7 rebounds, got to the offensive glass 5 times for him. And then Dame and CJ did their thing, which we've seen them do forever. And Portland really they won this one running away. It was extensive garbage time.
Which is why
this one about the last 5.
Which is why you don't see major minutes for most of the Grizzlies starters. I mean, John Morant played 32, but you mentioned Des Bane, 19 points, 3 boards. He's been tremendous this season, 4 of 7 from deep, just physically strong. And I interviewed him a few times before the draft last year, and he's just a good kid, works hard, and if you know his background at all, kind of what he had growing up and all that kind of stuff, and he's a guy who's worked really hard to get where he's at, so it's cool to see him have this kind of success.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely agree. Just an absolute knockdown shooter, can defend. And he's kind of got that like Eric Gordon build too, where he's like a little bit of a bigger guy. He's kind of rugged out there, so can do some different stuff. Hey, in the chat, we got a shout out. Jeremy Jazwinski.
Coming in from Australia.
Hey guys, I'm your biggest fan. It's 1 a.m. here in Australia, so thank you so much, man, for staying up late and hanging out with us this morning. Thank you. We really appreciate that. Morning here for us, almost lunchtime.
Getting there
for us, and then. But Jeremy, get to bed.
Get some sleep.
Go to bed. Get some sleep. But after you listen to this
last upset of the night,
game to go. Cavs went in and just controlled the game from the tip and took care of the Clippers with very little issue. This was I ended up watching a lot of this one because I was doing post game Celtics stuff and followed from that. And this one was on, so I had a lot of this game on, and this is what I said on Twitter last night. The Cavs are weird, but sometimes weird is good as long as it works. And they're weird, but it's working right now. They've got
three
these
bigs.
goofy lineups where they play
Yeah.
3 bigs, 2 point guards. The 2 veterans come off the bench. Love and Rubio, though, throwing it back like old school Wolves highlights. Those two, they never lost their 2-man game. Yeah, it's a goofy, weird team that just kind of fits. And I think the key to all of it is Evan Mobley. I've never seen a rookie outside of like rookie Shaq come in the league. And I only kind of remember like rookie Patrick Ewing coming in, be this destructive defensively. He just blows stuff up left and right. I know he's basically 7 feet tall, but he looks like he weighs about 120 pounds. But he's all arms and legs and limbs. And I mean, he's awesome. He's rapidly gone up the list of favorite players I have in the league.
He's Anthony Davis-esque in that way, in terms of just having the size, but still being quick enough to really make a difference in terms of, oh my gosh, we're in scramble mode defensively and we've got to go close out on that guy in the corner. He can do that. And still have size.
You know what? He's already better than AD ever was, though, defending a guy one-on-one on the perimeter, where it's not even like a closeout, a scramble. It's just switching onto him, picking him up. Now, in fairness, the game has changed, right? So that's what the game is now. With that, it's funny that just thinking about Anthony Davis for a second, I just wanted to see if you had ever had this kind of thought. It came up. I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about the top 75 team, or the all 75, or whatever we're calling it, NBA 75. And there were a lot of people were saying Anthony Davis, it's too early in his career and all this stuff. He's in like his 10th year. So it's not like too early. I think we still sometimes think of Anthony Davis as like,
he's a kid,
he's in year 5 and he's a super young guy, and he's not that anymore. But yeah, hey, just love for our guy Colin Sexton. I felt like outside of Cleveland, you and I were the only two still on this dude, and 26
didn't hit
points.
A 3, but
really he didn't make any of his 3-pointers. And then Darius Garland, man, he's really starting to figure out how to play make for others. And then I gotta give it to Love and Rubio, embracing that role off that bench. Kevin Love has already played more for the Cavs than I thought he was going to this year. I just assumed this was going to be sit on the end of the bench and do the Blake Griffin. And you know what? He's out there doing his thing and playing pretty well for them. So happy to see that. On the Clippers side, there's not really anything remarkable.
They shot poorly
here. They just kind of stunk. They didn't shoot it well. They turned it over a decent amount. Just a bad night, and they don't have enough. Without Kawhi, they have to. You're not going to play poorly and win a lot. So this year, if you're the Clippers, you've got to kind of,
when you're looking at a box score, right? There's certain things that you can do in order to atone for mistakes elsewhere. So for example, if you see a poor shooting percentage, but a lot of offensive rebounds, right? So if you miss a lot of shots, you can make up for it by getting a lot of offensive rebounds and then getting yourself extra scoring opportunities. The Clippers missed a lot of shots, 36%, 22%, 62% going field goal, 3-point free throw. All of those are bad. Didn't really make up for that on the offensive glass. 9 boards, got out-rebounded on the offensive glass, 14-9. And then you can keep your turnovers low, which they kind of did. I mean, 14 to 20, which isn't terrible. Awful. But again, they just didn't do what they needed to do in order to make up for that poor of a shooting night. Now, the Cavs did turn the ball over 20 times, so that probably kept it a little bit closer than it could have been. But again, overall, the Clippers just had a bad shooting night, and then they weren't able to do the other things to make up for a bad shooting. And frankly, on most nights, if you shoot those percentages, it's going to be tough to make up for being quite that low across the board.
Yeah, to your point of sometimes a box score can tell the story. You lost by 13 in a game where you held the other team to just above 40% shooting, 3 of 20 from 3 for the Cavs, and they turned it over 20 times, and you lost by 13. Like that just tells you how bad your own offense was in this one. And yeah, and they didn't do enough to create those second chances or anything. A box score oddity, Reggie Jackson had 4 offensive rebounds. So good night for the
Yeah,
little guards, I guess, going in there
apparently.
getting offensive boards, Reggie Jackson and Fred VanVleet. But yeah, all right. That closes it out. Not our
No.
favorite night, I think, of the season. I will say this though. As much as the two teams we are closely linked with have been disappointments, to
Mm.
put it kindly. Really fun season so far. There's a lot of really cool storylines to monitor. I think it is fun that none of the teams we thought were going to be really good are running away with things and blowing everybody out. So it's been fun. Now maybe that normalizes here over the next month or so, and we start to see things go more the way we expected them to. But there's a lot of fun teams, a lot of fun stuff to watch, and I'm really
Yeah, I mean,
enjoying
there's
this
been
season.
some fun games. Like we said, there's been a lot of upsets and things like that, which from an NBA perspective is a lot of fun. But if you were a fan of any of the top tier teams in the NBA last night, you were probably upset today because there were a lot of upsets that probably shouldn't happen, but sometimes on a random Wednesday, weird things occur. Especially I'm going to blame it on the fact that Halloween is this week. That's what it is. Just spooky weirdness.
Halloween, and then next week,
That's
the
right.
clocks change.
Oh, the clocks change. I'm gonna have to get used to that again.
It's that time
Oh,
of year.
I didn't have to deal with that for a while.
Yep. Yeah. You
Yep.
have to live with the rest
That's
of us
right.
on this madness. I already ranted enough. I won't do my daylight
Right.
savings time rant. We'll save that for another day.
All right. Well, everybody who's watching, who's hanging out with us, make sure you do go subscribe to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you turn on those notifications as well. If there's any big news stories, we'll come back this afternoon and break those down. But thanks for joining us to talk about a weird night across the NBA. That's
Knicks
right.
Bulls tonight.
That should be a good
That's
one.
a big one. Been a long time since we could say Knicks Bulls
right.
is a big game for anything other than ping pong balls. So yeah, that's the exciting one. And then let's see if the Grizzlies can get back on track at the Warriors. Ja versus Steph. Nice
be
way
fun.
to finish the night.
All right, everybody. Till next time.